Oh my goodness. Wow. I feel like everybody wants to be away on vacation, you know? Then when you go on vacation, like you just realize how important routine is to your well-being, which is crazy because
Mm,
like when we're in routine, we crave being out of routine,
mhm.
having that freedom. But like, I don't know if it's just for me as a man or whatever, but like, yeah, obviously vacationing with kids is different than vacationing if it was the two of us. We would fill it with whatever meaningful, intentional, relational, adventurous aspects of going away. But I was definitely feeling at some point like an emptiness, you know? And the day that I did the full day of like coaching, it felt great. I felt like I was in my power, in my service. It's like, I think for a man, it's so easy to forget pretty quickly, you know? Like a man has to kind of constantly be self generating and connected to his source, connected to his purpose, and
It's easy to forget what.
to forget my contribution,
Mm,
my my purpose. I know my purpose is what I'm saying, like my contribution, like what my value is, you know? It's like I have to be doing in order to feel my worth, which is something that I'm not so used to experiencing. I mean, I experience it all the time, but like at least in my self-conception, it's like I trust my self-worth and I don't need to be doing something in order to feel my self-worth. And yet, being away and not, just having like all this time and being out of routine was, yeah, just I think there was like parts of it that felt a little bit empty. It was like kind of like forgotten who I am for a moment, or as though I'm forgetting who I am. Like if I'm not like plugged in and channeling my power and light. It's like when I don't do it for a little while, I almost feel like, is it still there? Do I still have
mm.
it? Like after my day of coaching, I was like, oh, I told him like, yeah, this and that. Like there was so many good calls and empowering calls. Or when we got back, my first full day of work, it's like almost like I had forgotten and I'm like surprised. Like, oh my God, I
Mm,
still have this deep insight. I still have this x ray vision. I can still see into people's souls and help bring clarity to their process.
right.
But
Well, it's interesting what you're saying because I in my experience of you, I feel like you had harder days after your call. Um, I mean, obviously we had our first half of the vacation where I think you and I are both plugged in and it was really full and that was like we gave it our all and we weren't looking for alone time or any work being done. It was just like we're spending 5 days with the kids. We had pretty good plans. We altered them a little when we were there. There's that typical like little bit frustration of like late starts or just like, last minute things that we're like, oh, maybe we should have been more organized and little bit things that came up. But like overall, it was like, I feel like had we gone home Sunday morning, it was like check, 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 like closed up with a bow. Like, I was telling my friend over a voice note how like I feel like the first one I was like so good. Neither of us lost our cool with the kids. Like it was like, except for a couple of regular things. We had like late nights every night, late nights at the pool, going to bed late with the kids. Like neither one of us looking for like our alone time. Yeah, obviously it's a little bit hard sometimes to be that full on, but I feel like it was like ding ding ding, like good. And then we got extended for like
it's like we're
5
at a
more
carnival.
days, and I think that introduced a
You just
whole
want a huge teddy bear, baby.
yay. That introduced a whole different it was just there was so much more space for there to be like, "We weren't really supposed to be here. What are we really doing?" We already spent so much time and energy and money giving the kids, like, full days, like, what are we actually doing for the rest? You worked for a little. You had a morning where you went to the beach. I had a morning where I went to yoga. Like, we were a little bit more trying to, like, care for ourselves and have that, and then also be there for the kids, and maybe the days were a little more boring. Like, I think there was more room for in general, there was more emptiness, as in space in the day and time to kinda be, like, neither here nor there, and you were expecting to be back and working already. Um So I thought that's what you were saying when you started opening up. But but you're saying about forgetting, but it's interesting because you had a day of work where I know, like, you were like, "Oh, I still got it," whatever, everything you're saying, but then I feel like the days after were still not even though you remember it, it was almost like you wanted to still be in that plugged in place, you know? I mean, I don't know if that resonates, but I don't know if it's, like, as much a forgetting or just a desire to be in it.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think I have a desire to be in it, but I think that in the in between, a little bit of like self doubt creeps in. But it's like, it's not even like direct, overt self doubt. It's almost like the absence of experiencing myself as this like energy, like this divine knowing, intuition flowing through me. And in the absence of it flowing through me, there's like a feeling of emptiness. And in that emptiness, a little bit of, I wouldn't even call it self doubt. I would say it's more like forgetting because in those moments when I'm not in front of somebody, if I were to try to tap into like that depth of knowing and insight, I wouldn't be able to access it. I would feel I would feel like I'm drawing a total blank. But the moment that I sit in front of the person, not the moment, but once I like just really empty myself out and just fully present and just absorbing them, their words, their process, their energy, and like it all just comes into very sharp focus. And all of a sudden, like that energetic charge starts flowing through me. And it just feels so good. I'm like, oh, okay. Wow. It's like you only realize you never realize you forget something until you remember it. So like once I'm there, I'm like, oh yeah, wow, like this is me. I have this. Like I
Right.
forgot that I have this because when it wasn't there, I just
But were you feeling it sounds like you were sharing that you were feeling some of that forgettedness or whatever, like, meaning I know what you mean about you only realize you forgot, when you remember, but I feel like you're sharing how there was something there when you weren't, right? An emptiness, feeling not plugged into your purpose,
yeah.
which then feels like could share, but I really feel into it, which is like this sort of like, what am I even doing here? Like, where's my value? Where's my worth?
Hmm.
What am I doing with my day? And,
Hmm. Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I think it came into sharp focus once I was back in the coaching seat,
mm, mm,
and it sort of clarified some of that emptiness or frustration maybe that I was feeling beforehand. But I wasn't, like, so conscious of it while I was there 'cause like, while I was in the in-between. Because while I was in the in-between, I'm like, "This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm present." I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I was actually so excited that the vacation got
mm,
extended, I was like, "This is exactly where we're supposed to be." It's been so long that we've taken kids on any sort of vacation like this. Like, I'm like, "It's all from Hashem." Perfect. Like, I love getting snowed in. I love getting quote, unquote, "stuck." You know? A few people had reached out to me, and I was like I told them that, you know, I'll get back to them when I get back where, our flights got canceled. They're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're stuck." And I had this urge immediately to respond and be like, "I'm not stuck. Like, I'm never stuck," you know? Just have this like
yeah,
perspective of like, I'm not stuck. Like, I'm being gloriously placed for an extended vacation in Puerto Rico. I'm not stuck. You're only stuck if like your mind is trapped because you couldn't get on an airplane,
mm.
right? If you want to be somewhere that you're not, then you're stuck. But if you believe you are exactly where you're supposed to be, it's quite the opposite of stuck. So yeah, I wanted the extended vacation and I was enjoying it. There were obviously a lot of arrangements that needed to be made with my existing schedule of clients. But once I got onto that rooftop and got on those calls, it it brought into contrast what I was feeling up until then, which was like a little bit of emptiness, which I gotta say, like I kind of, at least on a conscious level, I was kind of surprised by. Because I think of myself as somebody who's like so embodied and like I am where I am and like I don't need to like prove my worth or my value, but there's no question that there's some of that there. And I don't even see it as like a negative thing per se. Maybe in some ways I do, and that's why I like see myself as like, oh, I don't need that. But as I say, I don't have a judgment on it that I would need to be contributing or feel purposeful and meaningful to feel good. I think that's built into our human nature. I think particularly for men.
I mean, I totally hear what you're saying, and I mean, I definitely have a self-judgment on the emptiness that I have, um, and I think it's also different feminine, masculine, right? Where that's coming from, what that actually is, and what there is to do with it. Whereas and obviously there's crossover, but whereas for the feminine, if I'm feeling emptiness, I think my work is to drop into more presence, uh, just allow whatever is, flow with whatever is, notice what's coming up, allow, whatever, allow for it and sort of try to soften into it. Um, Whereas, and I'm not sure, like I'm just, because obviously the man has that feminine part as well. And I'm not sure when he would tap into that or, you know, harness the more masculine things. But like, for example, maybe like what's coming to mind is like if a man was feeling that on vacation, maybe the answer is like, all right, well, you're on vacation, but like get up at 6 a.m., go for a run, meditate, write for an hour, and then join your family like as they're getting up. And then you've fed that need for like purpose, whatever, I mean, not purpose, but like whatever the masculine need is for like structure and taking charge and being, whereas that might make me feel purposeful too and good in a way, like check the box. But I know on a deep level, that's not what I'm being called into on vacation. I'm being called into just like actually sitting with the discomfort of the slowness and the fact that I didn't work out every day and I didn't I like to recently I started doing like daily prayer and I didn't really do that on vacation. And it's like just like there's all that spaciousness where you're not really like checking off the boxes. And I think, like I said, for the feminine, for myself, the work is can I soften without the structure? Can I just be? Whereas I think that could also apply for the masculine, right? Maybe that also is like the masculine on vacation is allowed to, drop into more of their feminine. But then again, maybe not. Maybe the masculine needs that. And it's sort of like allowing yourself permission to honor those needs, of that structure and of that self, whatever it is, so that comes to my mind. But I was also going to say that I feel like because it's like, yeah, you weren't changing the world, you weren't out there making a huge difference, which I know is a very important thing for every man, whether he's conscious of it or not. Um, but you were making a big difference in our family, meaning you were playing the masculine role every day. You were making the plans, you were taking the lead, right? So I imagine that if I was how I used to be more in our marriage, where I was taking much more leadership and making the plans and making the schedule and be like, all right, let's get out of here by this time. And that you would feel even more like, oh my God, like, what am I, this like yucky, like,
Mhm.
whereas you still were definitely using your masculine powers to direct our family, but that doesn't mean that you feel fully satisfied. And I don't know what like the answer would be. Like, is the answer for you, not that there is one answer, but would the guidance be to allow that to be enough? And whatever's coming up is just like shadowiness that you need to be like, all right now it's not my time to be in like mission for the world. It's time for my family. Or is it like, no, like I have this need for more structure, purpose, whatever it is? And is it doing that also while you're with the family? Like I said, getting up earlier or whatever it is, spending an hour writing or sharing or posting, your writing and just allowing you to like validate that desire and not like be like, oh, but I'm on vacation, so I should not need to do that. I don't know. Like I could go both ways with how it would be for a man. Like, I definitely know if like I was speaking to a woman, the advice I would give her would be like, try to not, need that structure. Try to soften into it. But
Yeah, it resonates what you're saying. I think if I would have been up every morning, like an hour or two, call it two, before family got up, and I would have really tapped into my own spirit through prayer, meditation, movement, and or output, whether it was writing or posting or reaching out to a few people, you know? Uh, yeah, I mean, I think that that void or that frustration, that dissonance would have been gone. And actually the level of presence and leadership that I would have had in those moments of that masculine containment that you were talking about, that leadership of the day, the planning, it would have been on a whole nother level. I just would have been feeling so just tapped in, plugged in. It's like if I had not yet serviced myself and now I'm like in service to the world, like what kind of service is that? Am I really offering myself and my leadership from a place of overflow, from a place of like true groundedness and connectedness to source? Or is it just like performative in the sense that like I have to go through these motions and like this is the correct and masculine thing and these are the expectations and I don't want to disappoint myself and I don't want to disappoint you or disappoint the kids. In a sense, they could be both identical in terms of the actual um, like the mechanism itself, the movement in the world could be 100% identical, but energetically, it's totally, totally different. And I was going to say, I caught myself, but I was going to say the outcome can even be identical, but it can't.
Mm,
When you're going through the motions could look identical,
mm,
but and often they won't, of course, because you'll have more energy and you'll
mm,
have more vibe and people pick up on it. And then that changes
mhm,
the dynamic around you, the feedback, the relational dynamics between you, between myself and you, between me and the kids, between me, the kids and you. Like, there's no way it doesn't change. But let's just say, like, for argument's sake, it could be totally identical on the outside in terms of the mechanism, the motions, the movements. Energetically, it's still a completely, totally different thing. And therefore, the outcome would be totally, totally different. In fact, like when I think about a vacation, I'm not like really satisfied with the level of
mm,
presence and leadership that I showed. I know just from history and experience that I've been able to tap in, like just in so much like a deeper way, like bring a certain like joyfulness and excitement and engagement and like wonder, you know? And I noticed it even then, and I immediately like found somebody to blame, you know?
mhm.
It wasn't you. But like, I tried to kind of be like, yeah, but if this kid was more like this or like that, or
Mm,
more responsive to my leadership or more, then it would flow and it would cascade through the rest of the family.
mm,
And by the way, there's truth to that for sure. I didn't beat myself up over it. I have a lot of grace and compassion, but I have a very, very high standard for myself. And I think it's just about like noticing the energy and noticing the difference and the shifts. But yeah, I just know. I like just in being totally like blunt and honest with myself, like I know that I was not operating on the highest level of like tapped in sadhya, and just bringing that sort of magic and sparkle to the family. I'm thinking about like Friday night where there was some tension around Kiddush with Yosef, and I wasn't in my highest order, for sure not.
highest order.
Let's plan another vacation very soon. We gotta iterate and reiterate. You can't just be like, oh, that was that.
Yeah,
Let's go again.
yeah.
It hurts when I fall short from my like expectations of self.
Mm,
Just like being here and actually processing it, like feeling into it. Like I'm saying it and I'm analyzing it. I'm like being intellectual about it, but
mm,
it hurts. Feels like a lost opportunity, you know, or like a slight injury to my identity or my
mm,
or my ego. Like this is the level that I hold for myself. This is the standard I hold for myself, and I didn't meet it. I didn't match it where I would have liked to, ideally. And even with the grace and the compassion, which is definitely there, still like just taking a moment to be with it. Like I know what I'm capable of. I don't feel like I brought it on that level.
mm. Yeah, I mean, um I mean, first of all, I could soothe you and tell you all the ways that you showed up really amazingly, even though I also see what you're saying. Um, but I'm not gonna do that because that's not the point here. The point is that you're feeling into the parts that you wish were better. So, hear you, feel you. And, yeah, I have a really high standard for things, and I think also, like, a little bit of if I notice the root of it, there's, like, some scarcity, which is, like, that was our only chance, right? There's, like, scarcity and, like, anytime you feel like you messed up or you, like, ruined something, Is it often like a layer of scarcity then? Because if you were feeling into the abundance of opportunity and time and everything, then like you wouldn't have to feel it. So you could still feel the pain, but it wouldn't be as grand because it's like, all right, so next vacation I've learned, it's like always just a learning process and a growing process. But when you feel scarcity and it's like, was that our only chance? Like, when are we going to go on vacation again? I know, like, it's been a long time since we've done anything like that. That was our first time really taking the kids anywhere, like, on our own, um, out of the, let's say, out of the country, but, essentially that vibe. And there is a feeling of like how much money was spent, time and energy, and like when you start bringing things up, or when which only kind of trigger or poke at the parts of me that feel like wasn't as good as it could have been, um, then I feel like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't have gone at all. I noticed that thought coming into my head right away, like, oh, did we make a mistake? You know? And then I noticed like the like perfection in that, the pressure in that, and I notice that that's the way I think about basically everything. When I track that, I'm just like, and then in moments where I have more compassion or more awareness of it, I like cry for myself of just like, wow, like that is a lot of pressure you live with, Mushki. Like, oh my goodness, like you are now measuring. I have this very like mathematical mind. My brain is constantly writing, making algorithms to find out if I'm safe or not, essentially. Mistakes don't feel safe. Everything has to be perfect. And I'm sort of like running them forward to prepare for the future, running them backwards to like know how to process what happened and kind of balancing it all in the present with this like really intense juggling act of all of the algorithms. And it's sort of like I don't even necessarily notice it's happening until I step out of it a little bit. And it can be like stepping out of it, like stubbing my toe. And I'm like, just start crying. And then I'm like, all of a sudden I'm crying. I'm like, there's too much pressure in my brain. And I'm like, it's like, it's sometimes I don't realize it. But when I hear you start talking, then I'm like, there's a part that lights up that's like, ooh, should we have not spent all that money on that vacation? And then like all that like shadowiness comes in. And then it's just like, it starts playing around with my head. And I guess I don't really know what I'm saying, except like it's just a lot of pressure, like a lot of pressure. Um, and I noticed the scarcity there. I noticed the story that like things are only worth doing if they're done perfectly, right? Because what am I actually saying? What am I actually saying when I'm analyzing backwards based off of the fact that we're saying, oh, we could have showed up better, or you're saying you could have showed up better, and I have my own feelings about it, and um, it really, a lot of it is coming from this place of there is a right or wrong. You only get one chance, right? That's the scarcity. You only get one shot to get it right. And did you or didn't you fail or pass? And I think that, obviously I'm noticing it. So I have awareness of it. So it's not actually taking over completely. I can see it. I'm not becoming it, etc. But, um, and I, and there is space for you to share. I'm not like, not, it's not like taking over, but it's there. I notice it. And I also, the noticing is not just like, oh, noticing this. It's like really giving me insight into how I interact with every single decision of like whatever it is in my life, not exercising enough, not drinking enough water, like this sort of like pressure that I have on things and not as much openness and expansiveness and grace. But I think that ability, that, sort of what I'm talking about would get in the way of the ability of like being honest, right? Or being able to hear your pain about it, or being able to be real with my pain about it. Because if the I'm constantly measuring like good or bad, then you bringing up something bad, quote unquote bad, that you feel about it, it's like, "Oh, no," like, but I don't wanna have to start like, I was already putting this in, like, the check mark box. Why are you bringing up something that now has to, like I have to reconcile with, as opposed I guess it's, like, really what we're talking about is, like, black and white, thinking, and when a person is in that space, or when I'm in that space, it's hard to allow for someone else's opinions and also for your own, just, like and having that balance, and I think especially when you don't do things often, when it's something that's out of the ordinary that you spent a lot of money for, or whatever it is, and I used to have this when we would go on date nights, and we'd spend like $400 on a steak dinner, like, years ago. And it was like if we came home and it wasn't like we got in a fight, I would just be like, oh my God, what a waste. Like, just like this, like pressure of like, if you're going to be spending a lot of money and if you're going to be doing something, like it needs to yield positive results. Otherwise, like, I feel like I can't breathe. Like, I'm just like, I need to go back in time and undo it. Like, did I actually do that? Like, waste that much money on like a wasted date, you know? Anyway, so it's just some noticing. And like, I think I have grace in my system and I could say that, but I think that there's just a part of me also that really, really, really just wants things to be perfect. And I'm actually in like a lot of pain about it. Like, and it doesn't really, like I said, it doesn't really come out. I don't let myself feel that um, until like it gets triggered. Like I said, by like say stubbing my toe, like whatever it is, something that like allows me to just feel pain, and then like drop into like the underneath pain that I'm carrying constantly and not giving voice to, but just I want things to be perfect. I just want to be able, like whatever. I was tapped into it for a second and I lost it, but just I was in touch with that part. But yeah, it's like just it's really there. It's really like I'm not gonna speak for it because I'm not tapped into it. Yeah, it's just I'm not so connected to that part right now because I don't really have so much connection to that part because it's a very overwhelming part where it's just the level of pain I feel about it. I don't really let myself feel. Scary. But it's like we had such a beautiful vacation, and in general, our family's doing so great. And obviously, the peace that you and I have, and just on so many levels, it was really awesome. And you and I handled difficulties like a champ. And there was just like, it was really awesome. And how do I handle you sharing, or whether it's my own self reflection of some of the things that I'm noticing that I'm not satisfied with, or that I wish were different, or that I could have done better, or that were hard, and not allow it, I guess, to taint and tip the scale, I guess for myself. I don't have such a good balance where it's either like good or like then it just starts getting all shadowy and then I don't know like where to place it. And then what I'm feeling and what kind of hurts right now is like, this voice of like, wow, can't anything be good enough? Like, gosh, like you're going to dissect everything. Like you're going to come home from vacation and just like beat yourself up about like, and now it's going to become in the category of like mistake or like not good. And it's just like, where is where does the line cross between being self reflective and honest and open and being able to be like, wow, we just had a beautiful vacation, but like, here's how I felt about how I showed up. Here's how you felt about you showed up. Where is the line between that and dang it. I guess I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but sort of like where's the healthy line and where's the line where you're just nothing's ever good enough. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like a self line, but it's like because I'm so easily to critique and my perfectionist parts take over, and then they sort of like I've opened up this whole like playground for them to have a field day about everything. And it's like, where is the line between analyzing it and like honesty, and then what's like then my critic taking over in the name of honesty, or it's like honest reflection Or now it's like my critic is just like shaming and berating me because I'm like, no, but like honest reflection. Like, I don't know if I'm being clear, but
Yeah, I think you just said it. It's the shaming and the like the disparagement. It's in other words, one is just like looking at what happened and analyzing it and being honest about it, and then also feeling into your feelings about that and reflecting on it and feeling it and sharing it. And the other one becomes like the other one speaks to like inherent value. It's like, okay, like I fell short of what my vision is for myself. I had this ideal in my mind and I really wanted to hit that ideal. And this is my self image. Half of myself is like a person who goes on vacation as like absolute presence and shows up with patience and kindness and compassion with the kids in all situations. And now it didn't happen. Okay. So one is like reflecting on it and like even feeling sad about it or, um, yeah, feeling the pain, feeling the dissonance. And the other one is like all of a sudden it becomes like a marker of like your actual value and your self worth and who you are. It's like, I fucked up. Shit, I am a fuck up. I never get things right. I can never get anything right. I'll never get anything right. What's the worth of even, well, what's the
you
value of
shouldn't have
even trying?
gone.
You shouldn't have gone.
A
What
mistake,
it was
mistake,
a
mistake,
mistake,
mistake.
right? It was a mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that feeling.
Yeah. It's like, becomes like you become a failure because you missed the mark. All of a sudden, you inherently are flawed. You are an inherent failure when it's not. It's like, okay, this is an ongoing process and it's eternally ongoing. The process of having a target, aiming for the target, falling short of the target, and making repair. Like that is actually the purpose of all of life. It's not like a glitch in the matrix. It's not like a flaw in the system. It's actually the purpose for all of creation is that there should be a space in which we can fail through our choice. And because of that opportunity for failure, we have infinite opportunity for repair. It's what tshuva is. It's the
Right,
entirety of tshuva, which is the purpose of the world. It was created for tshuva.
right.
So, but if you shame yourself, what you're
Mm,
basically doing is you're saying that you're above the game. You're basically saying that you should never be beholden to the rules of the board. There's a game that's being played, and the game is that you trip and you fall, and that you make repair, and you get back up, and you fall again, and you get back up, and you make repair. But when somebody in the after they trip, they discredit themselves, they cancel themselves. It comes from this inflated sense of self. It's this ego that says, I should have never fallen in the first place. What the fuck is wrong with me? Instead of focusing on repair, which is where all the pleasure in this life is in the repair,
mm.
they get stuck in the fact that they've fallen and say, like, yeah, I'm inherently flawed. I shouldn't even be part of this whole thing.
Well, I mean, I think it connects to what I was saying. It is about scarcity, right? And I think that that is, when you mess up, I mean, when you say something to your kid that you never wanted to say, and you're like, you have so much shame about it, and or with your spouse or whatever it is. And when the scarcity is there, where it's basically like you ruined it, right? What is you ruin? You ruined your relationship with your child, right? You're a horrible mother. Like scarcity basically tells you that there aren't more chances. And it's like, this was it. And now, like, how are you? There's no way to repair from this. Like, you have
Mm,
ruined it,
mm,
And so when there's abundance, it's abundance of everything, abundance of opportunity for repair, abundance of like, when you have like that wider lens of your life, you're like, oh my goodness, this is like a tiny little thing that's not even going to matter, or it'll matter tremendously only because the repair is going to be so glorious.
hmm
But I feel like there's like a tunnel vision or a narrow thinking, and it's connected to scarcity as well. And it's like, I feel it. I feel this like pressure in my body, like, oh my God, like, oh, mistake and like bad. And then it's just like, even if I'm not thinking it in the words of scarcity, I know that that's the energy of it. Because if I was in the energy of abundance, it's like, all right, there's a million more opportunities. And like, oh my goodness. And now that this was the first ever time we've taken the kids on a vacation to like we've taken them to a retreat, a hotel with kosher food there, but like the first time we've ever been on our own without another family. And like, it's the first time. It's like, oh my goodness, how glorious. Because like now as we continue to be able to travel more, which is a big desire of mine, and to see the world, what a beautiful like baseline trip that we had to be able to, first of all, beautiful trip with so many amazing memories and times. And also just a baseline for like what things are actually like, what it's like traveling with other kids, what we could do better next time, what the expectations could be. And what a blessing that it was extended for 5 days to only be able to feel into all of that, and what it means to like not be prepared, and what it means to be, a little bit more impatient because you're expecting to be home, and like what a glorious, beautiful, like real life event. But instead, it's like more like, oh my God, that was a lot of money. And it turned out to be even more money because we stayed for longer. And like, money has been tight. And like, should we have spent it on that? If it didn't feed me, I'm not coming back like being like, oh my God, that was just like, that was so worth it, right? Like, oh, it was worth it. And I'm starting to measure, was it worth it? Was not? Oh my God, but what could we have done with the money? We should have spent that money and just gone on our own trip. Like I've been wanting to go to Israel and Italy. Maybe we should have done that. And it's like all of this like voices that are now attaching to the critique where it's like, oh yeah. Well, and then the self-judgment of like, well, why did I decide to do this? Like, am I do I make stupid decisions? Like, should I not be trusted? Like, where was this coming from? Why would I use this money to travel with the kids when it turns out like I'm super burnt out and tired? And like, why didn't I just take myself to a retreat? And like, why don't I take care of myself? And why am I not and then it's just like this spiral of like, I'm stupid. Ooh, maybe I'm stupid. Or like, I don't know where it ends, but it's sort of like not a good feeling of like, it starts off with like, oh, like, I wish I was more patient with the kids on Friday night. And it ends with like, ooh, like I'm a bad person. And it's a lot. It's just a lot, and I noticed that coming up. I didn't really get to like the, ooh, I'm a bad person thing yet, but I'm sort of like, did we make a mistake? Like that's where I'm at. Like, did we make a mistake spending all that money when we could have done either purchase things for our home, or there's just so many places, and I think that obviously for me, because money hasn't been so abundant, there's so much room for that scarcity mindset for all the things. And then I think there are areas in my life where I have an extremely amount of abundance in. And then when I make a mistake in that area, it doesn't really get to me because I'm like, oh, well, I'll have another chance. But when the areas wherever it is in your life, whether it's money, whether it's health, time, this, where you're like, you don't feel like there's enough of it, there's going to be less grace for mistakes in that area because your system doesn't believe that like there's other chances. I don't really know if there's any area in my life that there's an abundance of grace for mistakes, but I do think that this concept is legit though, where any area that has been tighter, it's going to be even less graceful. But yeah, in general, it's just like, when I'm in a space of having compassion for myself, I definitely feel into this pressure. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Mushki, like, you gotta just stop. It's too much. It's just too much analyzing, too much measuring, too much comparing. Like, just relax. Like, like you're not bad. Like, it's okay.
You said you don't know where it really ends, but I am curious.
Mm,
Like, can you take me there? So maybe I
yeah.
made a mistake.
It,
Yeah. Where to?
where,
Yeah.
it goes. I'm not like, I know this because I've been to this story enough times. I'm not there right now. But it goes, I always mess up. I ruin everything. It would be better off if I was not here. It would be better off if I wasn't alive. I should never have been born. Like that's where it goes. Like I should never have been born. I mess everything up. Like coming into this world, I just ruin things. And I wish I was never born. I think that's where it goes. Um, So to be balancing this feeling of I wish I was never born, which obviously exists inside of me, which is not a surprise. And I also know it's like a root of, I sometimes feel that when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, why am I here? I don't want to be here, Um, so it's a familiar story or not, or belief that I have. I've uncovered it through inner work. But yeah, I mean, if that's the belief, then that is a lot of pressure. If I'm constantly measuring if I'm allowed to be in this universe or not, it's a lot. So, like a different mother or a different wife with just a different person and with this opportunity would have just done it better. Like you should have married someone else and our kids should have a different mother. And, like I go there. I go there quite quickly, actually, when I cry about it. And I guess it's like a level of like when I cry about like how I'm struggling with one of our children and I find myself in this sort of tug of war with her and I feel like I'm falling short.
of what she needs, I just cry and I apologize to her in my tears, like, "I'm so sorry that you have me as a mother. I wish you had a different mother. I wish like, I'm so sorry you were giving me, like, I suck." Um, and that's, probably not the empowering self-talk to do better next time, but I have that sort of belief that someone else would be doing better with my circumstances, doing better for my kids, be more fun, have more energy, just be a better mother, and, um, even show up better for you in certain ways, and I'm just like, "Well, shit, this is who I am. I'm stuck with me," and I do a really good job of, like, checking the boxes and trying to feel perfect so that I don't have to actually face this part that's just, like, pretty much failing at everything that I'm doing in comparison to what I think a mother should be, a wife should be, a person should be, a daughter should be. I think I'm falling short in all of those. So I try to overachieve, balance out the that feeling. And also, I think we have to go because it's 12:07
Oh, no.
and we have to be home at 12.
We have to
Yeah,
be home at 12.
have
Oh,
to be
okay.
home at 12.
Well, have to be home at 12 is forward looking, so it sounds like we have more time.
Yeah.
Shoot, because I have some curiosities here,
Mhm.
babe. There's a lot here, obviously, and I could see, like, you're fairly tapped into it. Yeah, I'm so
I
curious.
don't feel tapped into it. I feel like
I
I'm
know.
speaking from my head because I just know
I
it. I
know,
don't
but
feel
I'm
I'm
looking at you
speaking.
and I see some tears in your eyes, and I know you're not, like, fully plugged in, but there's a level of presence to the feelings here, even if it's mostly intellectual
Mm,
in the way it's being
I'll
expressed
take
right
it.
now. Yeah.